From KPFK in Los Angeles, California, Valley Free Radio in Florence, Massachusetts, WNUC in Detroit, and BikeTalk.org worldwide, this is Bike Talk.
Bike Talk?
Welcome to Bike Talk. I'm Taylor Nichols.
And I'm Nick Richard.
Hey, Nick.
How's it going?
I was riding over the weekend, and I was riding with a couple of friends, and they didn't know each other, but they were both friends of mine. And we were going up a long climb. And one of the fun things about going up a long climb with some other people is, you kind of pair off and you talk. And I wasn't feeling great, so I was kind of lagging behind. And my two friends, who again didn't know each other, were in front of me, and I was behind them. And I heard them talking. And one of them asked the other, how long he'd been biking. And my second friend said, I've been biking about 5 years now. And he kind of explained how he got back into it after, being a mountain biker a long time ago. And this is why I want to tell the story, is because he said, it's changed my life. And I heard him say that, and my ears peaked up a little bit. And he said, he lost some weight and kind of all the regular things. But he just said something about riding the bike and getting out and having that time to himself or one-on-one with a few other people that he spends time with was really meaningful to him. And I just thought that was a great story. I love that he said that, and I love that he feels that way. And that's how I feel about riding the bike, that it's changed my life and it makes me, I don't know, a better person. Is that
Wow.
stupid?
Why would you say that?
Well, I don't know. I'm getting kind of, sentimental, I guess, but I really believe it.
Yeah. If you thought you were alone, there's the listener email.
That's right. Should we read that one?
Yeah.
Okay, this is from Tim Dyet, and he says, "Hey guys, I just wanted to send some love to the show. I've been an avid bicycle commuter in Western New York as a pianist and musical director. My daily commute takes me over the lofty Grand Island bridges every day as I go riding to students' houses to teach piano. And then I finish my day directing musicals at the Ellicott Creek Playhouse. As a musician, biking has become more than just a way to get around. It's a time to immerse myself in music. Listening to albums start to finish on the ride is such a joy. And in turn, the cardio has made me a better performer on stage. And that's been so much easier. Please keep up the great work. Stay warm this upcoming winter. Sincerely, Tim Dyet." And he says his last name is pronounced Dyet, but it's spelled D-Y-E-T. His website for his music, I guess, is timdyet.com. Thanks, Tim. I think that's a really nice sentiment and kind of goes along with my story.
It does. We got kind of a critical listener email. The subject heading was "Enjoyed the e-bike last show" episode, but then it sort of took issue with our stance
Right.
on personal responsibility versus systemic reform.
Right. Well, he makes some good points. You want to read the gist of it, and then we can sort of discuss it a little bit. Because I'd be curious what people think of it.
Steve Weyland. I live in Charlotte and was recently taken out on the Greenway at a blind curve by an electric skateboard. And he goes on to say the police didn't do anything, which is something you hear a lot. I was disappointed to hear the conversation that we had last episode where we played a clip from the Mamdani debate with Cuomo and Sliwa, where Mamdani was asked if he would ticket e-bike riders more. And he said he would put the focus on the app companies that are making them, speed and go through lights instead of ticketing and enforcement,
Right.
which, was contrasted by Cuomo and Sliwa, who thought you should ticket.
I would actually build on the city council's progress in holding the apps accountable like DoorDash and Grubhub to ensure that there weren't incentives for breaking those street traffic
So
laws.
you would not increase ticketing the riders?
I do not think the police should be the ones dealing with the failures of these app companies.
Mr. Sleeper.
License them, register them, and yes, do enforcement on them.
And so Steve said, I was disappointed to hear the conversation shift toward blaming delivery apps like Grubhub for these problems. He said, yes, those companies dangle incentives for faster deliveries, but it's ultimately the individual rider or driver who chooses whether or not to break traffic laws. Accountability matters. Instead of pointing fingers at apps or corporations alone, maybe we should focus on clear enforceable regulations like speed limits and safety standards that can actually make a difference on the ground. There are solutions for this, a true compromise, but your podcast missed that mark. Steve Weyland.
Steve, you ignorant slut.
No, that's an old show. I don't know if you're allowed to say that anymore.
I don't know. You're totally right. That's a Saturday Night Live sketch, and I'm so sorry, Steve. I was only joking.
Okay. That was Dan Aykroyd whenever Jane Curtin
Right.
dared to disagree. Yeah, this is the personal responsibility versus systemic reform thing.
Right.
I know Steve is probably not a conservative for some reason if he listens to Bike Talk, but conservatives tend to come down on the side of personal responsibility for people like, delivery riders instead of systemic reform. Although he is talking about speed limits and safety standards.
Well, I think Steve makes some really good points about personal responsibility. That is true. I mean, everyone has to follow at least most of the laws, no matter what that system with which they are working in is, even if the system is bad. We talked about this last week, that a lot of it is people riding e-motorcycles and not e-bikes. And so it's even more than just the app companies and the individual riders. It's also the city coming up with a way of classifying those types of multimodal transportation so that they have to register, they have to get insurance, and they have to ride with cars as opposed to with bikes.
A great example of this is driving, drivers who hit people on bikes. We were sent a piece by Patty Wiens, the bike mayor of Winnipeg. Right. 2 cyclists were killed by a drunk driver on the missing segment of a bike network where they had to ride on the shoulder, and they had a vigil. And this is another example of, do you talk about the drunk driver or do you talk about the infrastructure, the missing bike lane?
That goes all the way back to There Are No Accidents. That's Jesse Singer's book, meaning that it's not just the drunk driver's fault, it's also the infrastructure fault. And I think the same argument can apply to what Steve is talking about here.
So here's that piece by Patty Wiens.
Today we are holding a vigil for 2 cyclists, Egor and Kerry, who lost their lives on a stretch of our roads that is a missing link in the cycling network. It's a very busy and hostile environment. I have ridden that stretch many, many times because it is the only way to get through from one bike route to the next. Egor and Kerry were riding on the shoulder of Keniston Boulevard when an impaired driver, driving too fast, crashed into them and killed them. People can say, well, the driver was impaired. Nothing you could have done about it. But the truth is, if there was separated infrastructure, it's very possible that Egor and Kerry would still be here today.
It wasn't their fault. It was a drunk driver's fault. That's the guy that is at fault here. And the system that allowed him to walk after having a conviction already. Everybody's entitled to ride their bikes.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you all so much, especially the people from the critical mass, the bike community. Thank you so much for coming out to support Kerry and Egor's family in all of this. This is a dangerous stretch of Keniston. There's a multi-use path just by the IKEA. 2 kilometers that way, it picks up again. And it is so frustrating that we still have these gaps. And I want you to join me in always fighting to make this city a safer place to get around. So please talk to your MPs, keep fighting at City Hall to get it so we have a safe city to bike in so that this sort of strategy can not happen again. The vulnerable road user situation in the city is bad, it's dangerous, and we don't want any more repeats. So please do that.
We have a packed show. I mean, not only do we have Charlie's News, we have a children's book author, Mary Boone, whose book, Pedal Pushers, was banned by the Pentagon. We have the Northampton Cyclocross. We have Eli Kaufman from Bikefest in Los Angeles. And again, Josh Bowden from Adventure Cycling. So Let's get to Charlie's news, eh?
Yeah, here's Charlie.
Hey, it's Charlie here with the week's news. From Streets Blog NYC, our favorite bike lane hater Vicky Paladino has a challenger for her seat on the New York City Council in Northeast Queens. His name is Ben Chu, and he's a firefighter bringing the perspective of someone who's seen road violence in his day-to-day work and wants to combat that. A bike advocate, he's for the completion of the Eastern Queens Greenway. This election will have happened on November 4th before this episode airs, so we'll definitely have to check in on the results later. Also from Streets Blog NYC, Laura Kavanaugh, who's a former New York Fire Department commissioner, is calling for FDNY to take a bigger role in making safer streets because 86% of what they respond to is medical emergencies and just 2% is structural fires. Someone in the comments pointed out that firefighters are experts in prevention of fire, which is exactly how we should be thinking about our roadways. From Streets Are For Everyone, the Malibu Planning Commission will have its last hearing to decide on approval for the Caltrans Pacific Coast Highway Safety Project, which would add bike lanes and sidewalks and make the highway safer for everyone. The PCH has seen more than 60 people killed since 2010, so this is clearly an important meeting and decision. On a lighter note, renowned ultra runner Kilian Jornet recently completed a 31-day bike tour where he summited 72 14,000 or more foot peaks. The ride started near Boulder, Colorado, and ended at the top of Mount Rainier in Washington. Go Kilian.
Well, thanks, Charlie. It's always good to hear your voice. And I got to tell you, again, I live in Los Angeles, and we've been talking a lot about the PCH, the Pacific Coast Highway through Malibu. 60 people, Charlie even said, 60 people have been killed in like the last 10 years along a 5-mile stretch of road. And it's unconscionable that the city and the state don't do something about that. So I'm very curious to see how that turns out. And we'll also talk about the mayoral race in New York.
Hopefully Mamdani won.
Yeah. Next up is Mary Boone's book, Pedal Pusher. And it's a wonderful picture book for children that for some crazy reason was banned by the Pentagon. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the things that people can do on bicycles. Jenny Graham rode her bicycle around the world in 124 days. And we have an author on the show today who has written a book about the first woman to ride her bike around the world. And her name was Annie Cohen Kopchovsky. And the book is called Pedal Pusher, and it's by Mary Boone. And it was illustrated by Lisa Anchin. But Mary Boone is with us today. Mary, thanks very much for coming on Bike Talk.
I am really pleased to be here. Thanks.
You know, I really loved reading this book and looking at the pictures, but you're here for a couple of reasons, not just to talk about this amazing adventure that Annie took and your book about that adventure, but the fact that the book has been banned on military bases around the United States by, I'm assuming, Pete Hegseth. I can't imagine who else would ban a book like this, but I guess that's, to be discussed later. But can you tell us a little bit about Pedal Pusher, your book, and Annie Cohen
Kopchovsky? It just rolls right off your tongue. I would love to talk about Annie. Annie was the first woman to ride a bike around the world. She did that in 1895. And a friend of mine handed me one of those awesome facts and history a day calendars and just gave me this page about Annie a few years ago and said, this seems like someone you might like to write about because she knows I'm a bicyclist and she knows I'm a feminist. And this woman was definitely both. And Annie, after I started researching, just her story hit my heart really hard. She took this adventure around the world basically because a man had just ridden around the world and two businessmen bet that no woman could ever do the same. And Annie sort of said, hold my beer, watch me go. Yeah. And there were a lot of challenges along the way, which this book in 700 words or less describes for children. She was a mom. She had to leave her kids home with her husband. She was a Jewish immigrant. And this was a time when people were not super excited about immigrants or Jews. Right. And she had never, ever ridden a bike before. So she had to learn to ride the bike to take on this challenge. And she had to ride the bike around the world in 15 months and she needed to earn $5,000 along the way in order to complete the challenge and then win this bet with these businessmen.
Wow. Well, you said at one point she changed her name in the book from Kopchovsky. Did that roll off my
Yes,
tongue correctly?
you're getting there.
To Londonderry. And I wonder
She
if you could
did.
explain that.
Sure. Because she needed to raise money along the way as part of this challenge, she sold her naming rights. She was the ultimate marketer. I mean, she
Right.
gave lectures, she sold photographs of herself, but before she even started on the adventure, she sold her naming rights. So anytime she was interviewed, if you see old newspaper articles, it refers to her as Annie Londonderry because Londonderry Lithia Springwater gave her $100 to change her name and put a banner on her bicycle.
You know, you also talk a little bit in the book about how all of the modes of transportation were run by men. You know, there weren't many cars in 1895, and they were all driven by men. But of course, trains and streetcars and horse and buggies were all kind of run by men. But the bicycle turned out to be a real emancipator for women.
Excellent word. And when I go speak to elementary schools, because this book is written for kids, ages 4 and up, that's one of the things that just blows their minds because they can't imagine a time without cars. And when I say in 1895, there were maybe 100 cars in this entire country, and they were all driven by men. So if
Right.
you wanted to go someplace, you had to ask your dad or your brother or your uncle to take you. Their eyes just get big. So it not only changed how women got around, it gave them that freedom. It also gave them the freedom to dress differently. Didn't have to wear those big, heavy dresses anymore. Pants. Imagine pants
Right, right.
became more
Well, you even
acceptable.
say in the book that she rode the first part of the ride in those heavy dresses.
She
And
did.
I've ridden some of those old bikes. Now, this was not a penny farthing. This was a
No,
safety bike, but
right.
those bikes are still difficult to ride. The
Oh,
steering is
sure.
right over the axle and the front wheel, and it's just a little bit tricky to ride. So that was
Oh,
quite a feat.
quite a feat. She rode from Boston to Chicago in the big dress. And that's when she decided couldn't do it. I mean, she had the high collared dress on, a hat. She was very fancy. So yeah, I'm glad that she made the decision to change into bloomers along the way. Again, that's something kids have no idea what bloomers are. And then
Right,
they go, well, of course, bloomer pants would be more comfortable to ride a bike.
totally. Well, why do you think this is the book that the Pentagon has banned?
It's timing. It was the opportunity. I was going to present this at a story time at a children's museum on Joint Base Lewis McChord, and someone complained because clearly this book was a problem. My host appealed to the military attorneys on base and said, "Oh, come on, this is a program for children about a woman who rode a bike." And the answer we got was this was a clear violation of the president's stance on DEI. So I have a new book coming out called The Flying Feminist. I have a feeling I will not be invited to present that book on base either. But it's the time that we're in. Um, I don't think that this had anything to do with her being Jewish or an immigrant, because I frankly don't think anyone actually read the book who was
Right,
involved in banning or censoring it. And that's crazy too, because it's only 700 words long. So,
right. Well, a lot of those people don't read 700 word books. So,
well,
well,
yes, maybe I agree.
it's clear to me that had they read the book, they would, of course, wanted you to come on and present it because it's really a wonderful book with wonderful pictures, and it's a history book.
It is. I mean, and I think Annie's story is so great. And I mean, if I find any solace in this absolutely what I consider senseless censorship, it's that the story's been picked up by folks like you, the biking community. I've had a number of biking organizations reach out to me. I've had different authors' rights groups reach out to me. I've had historical societies reach out, and her story is actually going much further than if I had
Good.
just presented to those 30 kids at that one event. I really hesitated to talk about this censorship at first because there are 6 elementary schools on base, and I really didn't want their libraries to be stripped of books that matter. But when I learned that those schools are run very separately from the military, they're run by a public school district here in Washington, and the librarians sort of said, take them on, tell people need to know
Good.
this is happening. Then I felt like I could share the story.
Great. Well, let's go back to the book really quick, Mary. You know, you talked that Annie had to earn $5,000 on the trip. And, you know, before we started recording, Nick said he didn't think he could earn $20 on a trip like that. How did she do it?
Well, again, Annie was a bit of there's a line in the book that says, wheels may not have been the only thing Annie was spinning. She gave lectures, and these lectures were fantastic. She talked about her interactions with princes, the time that she was thrown into a Japanese prison, being shot at. Some of these things may happen, but we're really not sure how many of them happened. I don't think she spent time in a Japanese prison. We know she staged some photos where she was being robbed at gunpoint. We know that. But we also know that she was hit by a stagecoach. She finished the ride with a broken arm. So we know that that happened. But she gave these lectures, and they were so wild. People wanted to come and hear her stories. And she also sold photos of herself, which was a big thing that people did at that time. Sure. You know, you have to remember there was no cable TV. People went to hear whoever was coming through town, and that's how she raised the money.
Wow.
I want some photos. She's my hero.
Right.
She's pretty amazing, I'm telling you. When I talk to kids, their big thing is they want to know how she raised the money. They want to know which stories are true, which really nobody knows for sure. And nobody knows for sure how far she rode, because she did take ships. And she did take some trains along the way, but she did ride a really, really long way. And she did some things that women had never done. So these are the stories. They're all reported in newspapers. Her trip was really, really well documented.
Well, Mary Boone's book, Pedal Pusher, about Annie Cohen Kopchovsky riding her bike around the world, is not banned on Bike Talk. And you can find it in our bookshop section on our website, biketalk.org. And Mary, I'm sure you can find the book elsewhere. Where else can people find the book? Because it would be a great gift for any young person, but especially a young girl.
The book's available pretty much anywhere books are sold. I like to encourage people to go, of course, to your bookshop, but also to their local independent bookseller. Right. And if they don't carry it, they will happily order it for you. And if you reach out to me, I'll send you a book plate and sign it to your favorite bicyclist.
Oh, that's great. Well, you can reach us at biketalk.org, and we can connect you to Mary, and you can get a signed copy. Nick, I think you have a daughter who is just learning to ride a bike and might love this story.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we get a discount? Or I guess if we buy it through our own bookshop, we'll...
Right. There you go.
We'll get 10%.
Mary, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for enlightening us about Annie, and thanks for writing the book, and thanks for writing the article that alerted us to the book being banned, because I think that is just crazy. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all.
It is an unfortunate sign of the times, but I really do appreciate you guys helping to tell this story, because I think Annie was pretty spectacular, and she deserves to have people know about her.
Absolutely. Mary Boone, and the book is Pedal Pusher. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So Pedal Pushers was a children's book, and here's an interview with children. My daughter and her friend were interviewed by Julie, my wife, at this year's Northampton Cyclocross last weekend.
It's a family affair.
It's a family affair.
I'm here at the Northampton Cyclocross event here at Look Park in Northampton, Massachusetts. Interviewing my daughter, Penelope, and her friend Chloe, who just finished. Penny, this isn't your first cyclocross race, right? You've done this how many times now?
4 or 3.
Yeah, I think you've done it about 4 times. And Chloe, yeah, I think you're about 3, 4 times.
This is my 5th, I think.
What advice would you give somebody who has not taken a turn at doing this cyclocross race and maybe wants to do it next year? What would you give a kid some advice? This is Penelope, by the way.
It might be hard for you, but you can probably do it, depending on how much practice you've had.
Okay, and Chloe, what's some advice you would give somebody who hasn't done this before?
Even if you don't come in first, you still did it. And I think you can do it, even though it may be hard.
I have one more piece of advice. I would also say, even if you came in last, everyone is a winner.
I love that. So what was something that was surprising or challenging or even exciting about your course today?
I really liked at the end of the course because we got candy.
And what about you, Chloe?
I think what was hard was getting over the boards and hay barrels.
Now that you're in a different age group, you had to get your bikes over the hay bales and the boards, because last year, what could you do last year?
We could just go around them. Or if we really wanted to, we could go over them, but the boards and hay barrels will kind of move so we can go around them.
Well, congratulations. Who's going to do this next year?
I'm going to do it next year, by the way.
I'm definitely going to do it.
And what are you going to do to prepare for next year?
I'm going to do practice at home for it, set up maybe an obstacle course at home, and I'll do a little practice at Look Park, where it usually is.
Chloe, what are you going to do to prepare for next year?
Maybe set up an obstacle course at home, just like Penny, and probably going to get here way early, before the race, because that's what I did this year. If they have the obstacle course up next year, then I think I'll do that, but also practice outside.
And your mother's here, Chloe, Eleanor. Any advice for the parents who are entering their children for the first time or experiencing a bike race for the first time? Any advice?
I think the girls gave great advice. Just try it. Try your hardest. It's super fun.
And if you fail, then you are still a winner either way.
That's
you
totally
still
true.
Finished it.
Yep, that's right.
And my piece of advice to parents is pack water, pack snacks.
Oh, and there's food trucks here, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
We're at Look Park, by the way.
Northampton Cyclocross on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Northampton Cyclocross!
I'm with Tanya Boulanova, who's with the Jam Fund on the board of directors and also a racer here at the Northampton International Cyclocross. How many years has this been going?
I believe this is our 34th year.
The best racers are here, would you say?
Yeah, we are a UCI race this year again, which means that people are flying over who are racing at the top level of the sport. Category 1, Category 2 racers.
And you are on the board for this Jam Fund, which gives grants to young riders?
Yes, so the Jam Fund was created, I believe, in 2010. We have given out tens of thousands of dollars out in grants to young cyclists between the ages of 12 to 28. And the grants help support these cyclists with any kind of bike fees, entry fees, travel, equipment. It can really cover anything that helps these cyclists to get out and be a part of the sport. What we're really trying to do is just encourage them to be a part of the community and give back to the community.
You're really trying to develop the sport too, right?
Right, so a big part of the Jam Fund is that we're trying to encourage these young cyclists to be a part of this sport and keep this sport alive. It means a lot to us. Northampton is really a mecca of cyclocross, and I think it's very fitting that the Jam Fund was created here.
It's my daughter's 4th year here. How many different races do you have? I mean, we had 3 or 4 different races for kids under 10.
I don't know off the top of my head, but we definitely have probably 15, maybe more fields throughout the day. We have a lot of cookies to hand out. That's all I know. A lot of cookies. That's the star prize of the race is a large 12-inch diameter cookie for all of our podium winners.
That's the only way you're really going to get a cookie like that, right? Is to win this race, because they don't sell cookies like that.
They do not, no.
It sounds like part of the sport is passing it on and mentoring.
Yeah, that's really a mission of the Jam Fund is we're mentoring any chance that we get on and off the bike. It's not just here's how to make this turn on grass. It's also, hey, let's be morally good people and, here's how to be polite. Here's how you should keep the course clean. And if you see someone needing help, go and help them. We're teaching very valuable life skills throughout each week and weekend coming to races. And Jam Fund it's not just a team where we kind of show up to a race and race it. We're not about who can be out doing well and, getting results. It's really, what are you doing in between the races? A lot of our Jam Funders are encouraged to go and coach kids throughout the week and set a good example in the sport. We're not just out here to race bikes. We're really trying to uphold a community and, like I said, make sure that this goes on for years to come.
My daughter's on the right track then.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely encourage anyone who's interested in being a part of the community to come out. We're very friendly and there's a lot of people willing to mentor young kids. If they want to become professional cyclists or if they're just out here doing it for fun.
Well, so how does somebody apply for the Jam Fund if they want to, if they're a cyclocross racer but they don't have a bike or they want to upgrade or train?
Yeah, so we open our applications early in the year and we accept applications through June. And then every year in July for our Grand Fundo, we announce the winners. This year we had about 30 grant winners and we encourage all of them to come out to the Grand Fundo before the official cyclocross season starts in August. So you can check out our website at jamcycling.org, read a little bit more about us, donate to the cause, or apply.
Okay, this is Ellen Noble, and I don't know, maybe I should have Tanya give your credentials.
Yeah, this is Ellen Noble. I'm really proud to call her my friend, but she's a former pro cyclist who is coming back into racing with the support of Jam Fund. So she started on the Jam Fund and she's now continuing. Now we're back.
The Jam Fund is, I know that Tanya already gave a little bit of an introduction, but we're a registered nonprofit based out of Western Mass. Our mission statement and kind of the work that we do has evolved over the years. And really now kind of our unofficial MO is to create good humans with bikes as a medium. So we were previously dedicated to developing professional cyclists. The landscape of the sport has changed a lot, and that's a little bit less viable. We're really just dedicated to creating community and a thriving outdoor community of healthy people. And I think that cyclocross is a super powerful, incredible sport. But I just think anyone that can be outside exercising and working through the ADHD and neurodivergence that a lot of us have on the team, that's a kind of an added benefit.
You're about to race right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much as soon as I'm done talking to you, I'm going to go to the start line.
All right, well, good luck. Thanks for talking.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's great, Nick. I love to hear Penny out there talking to other bikers. So that was really wonderful. Thanks.
Yeah, well, and then as Tanya and Ellen were saying, the Jam Fund is all about raising up those kids into, community members who also can do cyclocross, but they seem to really emphasize like being part of a community over being a great racer at cyclocross. And Ellen explained to me it's because you can't really make a living at cyclocross anymore.
I think that's one of the things that I like about the bicycle community in general is it is a community.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Eli Kaufman, who is the director of Bike LA, which is, of course, formerly the Los Angeles County Bicycle Coalition. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on there, but also about Bikefest, which is an opportunity to bring all of the different bike organizations and people together at the Highland Park Brewery on November 15th. As we get into the holiday season, it's festival season. And that is no more true than it is with the bicycle world, because Bikefest is coming up. It's a yearly festival that celebrates all the good things about bicycles, and it's put on by Bike LA. And the CEO, the president, the chairman of the board of Bike LA, Eli Akira Kaufman, is with us today. He's been on the show many times. Eli, welcome back to Bike Talk.
Thanks. And I'll just, for the record, make a quick correction that I'm none of those things, but I am the executive director.
Okay.
One thing
well, in my mind, you are.
Yeah. Thanks,
So
man.
tell us about Bikefest. I've always enjoyed it the past couple of years because it brings a lot of different people together to sort of celebrate biking in the Los Angeles County region.
Yeah. So it's our fourth year, our third year at Highland Park Brewery, which has been our gracious host for the past 2 years, right downtown near the Chinatown Metro stop, near California State Historic Park. And it's really just a chance to celebrate bike culture and to gather all the people that work throughout the year to make LA a more livable place by making it more bikeable. Right. And we have a couple of awards that we give out, and the first beer is on us, and we give out these bandanas that people are crazy for that are show every bike under the sun, different color. This year's color is baby blue. It's a chance for us to kind of just hang out and raise a glass and acknowledge that we're still after so many important things during these difficult times.
Right. Well, let me say real quick, it is Saturday, November 15th from noon to 3, and you added 3-ish, meaning sometimes people stay a little bit longer than 3 and celebrate with a little bit more than one beer. But it really is a fun time. And I have always felt that Bike LA is the glue that holds all of the different organizations, whether they be pedestrian organizations or bicycle organizations, together. And I think that's why it's so appropriate that you guys are the host of this party. You're giving out a couple of awards this year. I wonder if you could tell us who are the recipients of the awards.
Yeah, so we're honoring Hugo Soto Martinez, City Council, CD13.
Mm-hmm.
He's a native Angelino, and he's been doing a lot of great stuff in CD13 around all kinds of issues that are intersectional with active transportation and shared mobility and bicycling in general.
Right.
And we're really honoring...
And I might add, sorry to interrupt you, Eli,
Yeah.
the bike lane on Hollywood Boulevard, which is such a game changer for going east-west. And they just put in bike sweeper, Sweeping Beauty.
Yeah, I was there for the launch of that mighty bike operated.
Right.
So they have an e-bike that pulls the Sweeping Beauty, and it was really a fun event. And Hugo was there as well.
Right.
But yeah, he ran on a platform that really talked about making our streets more people-centered.
Right.
And he's as much as anyone on the city council has been following up with that. And then, we're nudging him to continue to fight for Sunset for All. And we see that as yet another piece of the puzzle to make CD13, but also regionally to make LA a more bikeable and more livable place for everyone.
Well, I ride on both of those streets all the time. I was on Hollywood Boulevard last night, and I was on Sunset today. And the Hollywood Boulevard bike lane is cleaner after Sweeping Beauty, and Sunset could be better. And I think Sunset for All would be a big step forward in making it more of a people-centered place rather than just thoroughfare for cars.
Yeah. And then we're also going to be honoring Active SGV, formerly Bike SGV, and SGV stands for San Gabriel Valley.
Great.
What's cool about it is, they've done some amazing things. First of all, they have the 626 Golden Streets events, which are their open streets events, which they run. And then recently they did Arroyo Fest, which was shutting down the Pasadena freeway.
Right.
And opened it to bikes. And it was a tremendous event. And we want to specifically thank them for that. But they're doing so many other good things like Go SGV, which is basically the first monthly e-bike share program in the area. So they're doing all kinds of great work. And it's always good to acknowledge our partners. And speaking of partners, I just want to add in that we're also celebrating Streets Are For Everyone, SAFE, for their 10th year anniversary. They're just killing it in terms of the types of work that they're doing to advocate for safe streets in Sacramento. So we want to really honor Damien and Kylie Rose, his wife, for all the amazing stuff they're doing.
That's Damien Kevitt, right? Yeah.
Damien Kevitt, yes.
Yeah. Before we move on, everyone's welcome at Bikefest, from whatever organization or just people who are on bikes are welcome. And how much does it cost? And any other particulars that someone who's hearing this might need to know, that on Saturday, the 15th, they are more than welcome to show up at Highland Park Brewery and share a beer with other people who ride bikes in LA County.
Yeah. So the price of the ticket is a low $25. We kept it the same as last year. With that, you get one free beer on us and a bandana, and then a lot of fun, with bike-minded people. The other thing is that we'll have a bike valet that we offer, so that you're encouraging people to get there the happiest, most sustainable, most connected way, which is by bicycle. So there'll be a free bike valet, complimentary there for you as well. And then this year, we really refined our silent auction game. We have this amazing silent auction. It's online already. It's open, and I'll share the link so you can put it with the episode. But we have all kinds of great bike prizes: bicycles, e-bikes, cargo bike, but also all kinds of helmets, locks, bike bells, just all the things that you wish that you've always sort of wanted to get, but maybe they were a little pricey. In this case, we're auctioning them for under their MSRP, but all the proceeds go to Bike LA and our advocacy and programming work. So it's kind of like a twofer. You get a great deal on something that you want, and all the proceeds go to Bike LA.
Do you have to be in person to do that, or can you do that online also?
You don't. I'll send a link to you. You can start bidding now. The auction is open, but it does close on Bikefest on the 15th at around 2:30. So whether you're there in person or not, if you're there in person, it's small enough, we'll hand it to you right then on the day. And if not, you have until the end of January to pick up your items. But the idea is that, we want as many people to come and be with us.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right?
That's the whole point. Yeah.
Right. One more thing. In a world of streets for all and safe, streets are for everyone, and active SGV, where does Bike LA fit in?
It's interesting. I think it's fair to say that we're the grandmother of all those organizations. We actually incubated Active SGV. We incubated Ciclavia. We incubated LA Walks. We incubated the Culver City Pride Ride. We actually still serve as their fiscal sponsor. So we've served a role of being kind of like the constant thread since 1996. And I think that, where we're most active right now is in programming, working in LAUSD schools, working to help people mode shift out of cars through bicycle education, training, and different types of programs like that, working with the Department of Public Health with Vision Zero programs. So we've been focused more on that side of things. We have so many colleagues, I would say, that are doing a great job on the policy side in Sacramento, and Streets for All is one, and SAFE is another.
Cal Bike and all those, right?
Cal Bike, at the state level, the League of American Bicyclists at the national level, People for Bikes. These are all partners. But really where we sit is in building the culture itself that's going to demand the infrastructure that we all want to see.
Again, Bikefest is Saturday, November 15th at the Highland Park Brewery. It starts at 12 o'clock. And as Eli said, it ends around 3-ish. So
it's our fundraiser. I should say that,
absolutely.
Even though the ticket is only $25, also just to acknowledge the people who get on bikes. It takes, unfortunately, in LA, it takes more courage and more grit to get on a bicycle than it should.
Absolutely.
Our whole goal is to make sure that anyone from 8 to 88 feels like they can get on a bicycle and not fear for their lives, but really embrace all the benefits that bicycling can provide.
Right. I think last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, you gave an award to Laura Friedman, who was a state assembly person, and now she's a congressperson for the state of California. She's
really delivered. Boy, Laura's been such an advocate, continues to push in this sector, which oftentimes gets the short end of the stick with so many other competing needs. Just look at this year. We started the year with the fires in Altadena and in Palisades. the ice raids that have completely disrupted our entire system. And by the way, people who walk, bike, and use public transit are being targeted.
Right.
And so even some of our public engagement has been impacted because we don't want to bring people out into spaces where they might be
vulnerable. Right.
Vulnerable, exactly. And so, and I should say this too about Bikefest. We are there to support all bicyclists. So everyone is welcome, and we do have some protocols in case ICE or others show up and try to rain on our parade. I don't know how to say it.
Well, I'd love to hear. I mean, I'm really sorry to hear that, but I love to hear that. So,
yep.
Eli Akira Kaufman of Bike LA. Thanks, man.
Yeah, come out, have some fun on November 15th. We'd love to see as many of you as possible. It's going to be a fun day. We deserve it, and so we hope that you'll come join us.
Perfect. That was Eli Kaufman from Bike LA. We've been talking to Josh Bowden the last couple of weeks about how one might prepare for a long bike tour and bike trip. And this week, Josh talks a little bit about what do you do with your normal life while you're on the road. So last week, Josh Bowden and I, talked about the logistics of planning your trip, the route and what to think about and how do you get your food and where you're going to eat and how much does it cost and all that. And Josh put an interesting thing in our, I don't know, what do you call it? Menu, Josh, of things that we're going to talk about.
I like that. A menu of topics.
Yeah, a menu of topics, right. About setting up your life and your finances for your ride. And so, Josh Bowden, thanks again for sitting down with me to talk about, long distance bike touring. Again, Josh is from Adventure Cycling. And Josh, tell us a little bit about how do you set up your life for a month on the road or possibly longer, but I guess some people do 2 or 3 months on the road.
Yeah, the distance and kind of length of the trip will definitely vary what you're doing. Most people have probably taken 2, 3, maybe even like a month of vacation before. So in that sphere, it's a bit similar to what a lot of people have probably experienced, ask the neighbors to get your mail or put a hold on it. But when we're talking about a long distance bike trip, we're thinking, in your case, a month and a half, maybe 2 months, or potentially for a coast to coast ride, 4 months. Some people do like a year of touring. So it's a bit different there. And really, when it comes down to that, my first thing is always to tell people to think about how much money you're going to need for that trip. Think about how many hotels you need, how much food you're going to be eating, like where you're going to be going. If you're going through the Midwest, it's going to be cheaper than going up the Pacific coast. But save that much money and then save a lot more because you really don't want your finances to be the thing that stops your trip.
Right.
I've heard of people doing that, and it's just a huge bummer when that's your limitation.
Right.
So
when you're not eating at the diner because you want to save, the $12, or you're not staying in the hotel because you want to save the, $70 or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And there's definitely times and places to, like maybe be a slightly bit more austere and save some money. But if you're constantly thinking about your budget out there, that's just that's one more thing that you don't need to be thinking about, and you can avoid that problem ahead of time.
Great.
Other things to really think about is in these long ones, thinking about just like all the things that kind of day-to-day life we don't think too much about, but you need to consider, such as like your bills. If you have a place, you got an electric bill coming in and you're leaving your home there, got to make sure those are getting paid. You don't want to come home to a bunch of missed payments. So this is also good life advice, automate those payments if you can. So you just know like the electric bill and the internet bill are getting paid. Some services you can call them and like reduce or hold a service, maybe even cancel something. This is a great excuse to cancel that thing that you've been meaning to.
Right. Netflix, HBO.
Right. Yeah. You keep saying, oh, I'm going to get rid of those subscriptions, but this is your chance. Or in case of internet, I've done before where I can just hold my service to where I'm not completely disconnected and the bill is significantly cheaper. And I just call and tell them to turn it back on when I'm back.
Oh, that's good. I hadn't heard about that.
Another thing to think about if you're still renting or if you're already kind of in a life transition phase, maybe you finished a bit of school or you're moving to a new place. Maybe you can even cut costs dramatically and not really have a quote unquote home. You can put your stuff in storage, maybe put it in a friend's garage or shed. Plan on couch surfing when you get back, just eliminate that rent.
Right.
A lot of these longer trips tend to come in like times of transition for people's lives that tend to be when they happen. So more than likely you're going to move cities or a new job or a new place to live. So you can time all that up and get rid of that rent, reduce your possessions if you need to, put it somewhere so it's waiting for you to get home.
That's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that. And, I'm certainly not in a transition in my life from, school to this or that, but I am in a transition a little bit toward the latter part of my life. I'm in my 60s and I'm feeling like if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And so, I'm not retiring, so to speak, but I am at a stage where I'm taking care of more of stuff that I want to do while I can still do it. So that was really interesting. And I bet you're right. That's a lot of people. I think a lot of people do it when they retire, when they're in their mid 60s or something like that. They have a little bit of time, a little bit of money. All of a sudden they're not working, day in and day out. And so this is a good opportunity to do it. So that's great. Thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like in my case, I did a lot of my long distance, like backpacking right after college. Like I wanted to do it in the middle of college and I just made sure, well, let's get the education first. Let's get the scholarships, make sure that's all there. So yeah, that transition phase where I could keep costs low. I didn't have a lot going on. I was just like working and taking off time from work. So,
and once you have kids, if you have kids, that slows everything down for about 20 years. So it's hard to take a month or two off when you have a couple of kids at home. At least it's harder on your partner.
Right. These times tend to come up when you have less commitment going on, or you're reducing commitment. So you have the chance to really, shirk a lot of commitment by getting rid of that apartment or whatever else you've been holding on to.
Right. Great.
Other things to think about in terms of life. Again, kind of in the transition phase, you got to think about like your life obligations and your job. A lot of people maybe quit their job for a really long trip. Again, transition, like I'm tired of this. I'm going to move into a different field or a different company, or, maybe just need like a reset. You're burned out.
Right.
So you can quit your job, negotiate a leave of absence. A lot of different ways to go about this depending on your situation. I definitely advocate for not burning bridges if you quit your job, just in case you need that job when you come back.
You.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, do your thing. Your life. Your situation, but you might need that job when you come back.
Right.
And in that situation, if you're going to not have a job lined up when you come back, that's another thing about money. Make sure you have the money to stay afloat when you come back. You don't want to be down to, $100 in the bank account when you get back from your trip, because life on the road is probably a little bit cheaper than everyday life sometimes.
Right.
And then thinking about obligations, like pet care. Are you involved in like regular community programs? Are there important events in your life? Think of like maybe in your middle of your trip, for example, maybe you have a child who's like getting married or they're graduating, and are you able to, pause in the middle of your trip, store your bike somewhere, fly back to go to this event, and then get back on there? Like just all these kind of big things you need to think about that happen in the middle of your trip. And can you make it back? Or if you can't, okay, maybe let's rethink that trip. And because I really want to be there for that graduation, you might need to rethink the timing of it.
Right. That's interesting you say that, because I'm an actor. And so I work intermittently anyways, just because of that. And so I'm trying to time this around directing a play so that I can focus on the ride and then do the play after the ride. But, it's possible that I would get an audition while I'm on the ride. And if I got a job, go do the job, I guess, and then go back to Montana or wherever I am on the road. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really good example of, I think you're probably in a pretty unique situation, not too many actors out there. So in your situation, you're already mentally preparing yourself for like that possibility, versus when you think about these life obligations and other things going on ahead of time, you're setting yourself up for success. And you don't have to have that mental struggle on the road where you're going to be tired, you're thinking about logistics. So anything you can do to reduce that mental load ahead of time is really good to do.
Great. That sounds like what I need to plan to keep my life going. Next week, we are going to talk about prepping the bike and the equipment that you need on the bike for the trip. So is there anything you want to say about that, prepping the bike and the equipment?
Yeah, highlight would be usually the best bike for the trip is the one you already have. Might need a little modification, but the bike you have can probably do what you need. And the most important things are contact points: saddles, pedals and shoes, and your handlebars and grips. If you need to change something, that's probably where the money should go.
Josh Bowden, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Taylor.
You're getting a lot of free advice on this show, Taylor.
It really has been wonderful. Josh and I have gotten to be pretty good friends, and he's really turned me on to some things that I haven't thought about. So if you have a question for Josh or for adventure cycling, reach out to us at livebiketalk@gmail.com, or you can go to our website at biketalk.org and reach us there and ask a question about bike touring to Josh and adventure cycling.
Yeah, or whatever you want to talk about.
Right.
Good show, Taylor.
I think so too. We want to thank our guests, Mary Boone of Pedal Pusher, Eli Kaufman of Bikefest, Josh Bowden of Adventure Cycling, and Patty Wiens. And we want to thank Penny and her friend Chloe, and Tanya and Ellen, the racers from the Northampton Cyclocross event. We also want to thank our regulars, Julie Richard, Kevin Burton, Josh Hagland, Charlie Lighthizer, Amy Ziering, Lindsay Sturman, and Stacy Randecker.
Great. You know what? I have a quote this time, Taylor.
Oh, please.
Yeah, off of Steve Weyland's listener email, where
Mhm.
he was saying, about personal responsibility versus blaming the app companies. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it is getting.
I got to think about that a little bit. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it's getting.
Yeah. So
That's great.
if you have, 40,000 people being killed by cars a year, you look at the system. You don't look at the nutty drivers.
Right, right. That's what the system is designed to do. It's designed for cars to speed.
Wow. Well, that was not a upbeat.
Well, okay, let's end with an upbeat one, which is take the listener survey at biketalk.org.
All right. Thanks, Taylor.
Ride safe.
This episode of Bike Talk is sponsored by the law offices of Pocras and De Los Reyes, with offices in Los Angeles and Bakersfield and serving all of Southern California.
Bike Talk is a project of CRSP and the Los Angeles Eco-Village Institute.
And that was Bike Talk. If you have a story, a tip, or a topic, head over to biketalk.org and send us a message. Talk again next week.
Get that car out of my way. I wanna ride my bike today. It keeps me fit, gets me there. I won't go stinking up the air. Leave behind the daily grind. Let your mind unwind. Live its life, pretend to life. Better get yourself a bike. Get on your bike, sit on the seat, put your feet on the pedal, and run all around, run all around. Get on your bike, sit on the seat, put your feet on the pedal, and run all around, run all around. Get that car out of my way, I wanna ride my bike today. It keeps me fit, gets me there, I won't go stinking up the air. Leave behind the daily grind, let your mind unwind. Live its life, pretend to life, better get yourself a bike. Get yourself a bike. Oh, 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 get yourself a bike.